Well, today, the 27th of July 2025, was the day that was designated by the major players in Eastern DRC to start an official crackdown against the FDLR in Eastern DRC. But the standoff between the DRC and Rwanda is no longer about armed groups in Eastern DRC. It is a classic contest of who blinks first. Each side demands that the other moves first. Kinshasa wants Rwanda out before it touches the FDLR, while Kigali insists that the FDLR has to be dealt with before it takes a step back. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you about the Washington Accord and what it provides to end this standoff between Rwanda and DRC, as well as I'm going to tell you about the scenario if one side stalls or one side fakes the compliance of this rule that was made by both parties as they signed the Washington Accord. Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the Eastern DRC crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, exactly a month ago, June 27th, 2025, the DRC and Rwanda went into Washington and they signed an agreement, what is now famously known as the Washington Accord. Both of these parties say that they are going to stop hostilities in Eastern DRC. Well, the DRC has been insisting that it is Rwanda that has been financing the M23, that it is Rwanda actually that has been supporting the M23 to be where it is right now, to take over the territories that it has taken in Eastern DRC. While Rwanda on the other side has been saying that it is the DRC that has been supporting the FDLR and other militias that want to destabilize the government of Rwanda. So both of these parties had a sit down, they discussed, and under the facilitation of the United States, they came up with an agreement that they are going to stop hostilities, that the DRC is going to fight the FDLR, and that Rwanda is going to lift its defensive measures in Eastern DRC so that there can be a lasting peace in Eastern DRC. Of course, this was to be augmented by the deal in Doha, the M23 and DRC deal that is continuing in Doha. But one major agreement that both of these parties had is that there will be a crackdown on the FDLR. It is one thing that both of these parties agree, that the FDLR issue has to be dealt with once and for all. The DRC government as a government is not supposed to support any militia. And Rwanda, of course, doesn't want this militia in Eastern DRC. The FDLR comprises of the 1994 Hutu militias that crossed borders into Eastern DRC after they were defeated by the current regime of Rwanda. So according to that peace agreement that was signed in Washington between the DRC and Rwanda, the DRC must launch a military initiative to neutralize the FDLR. Rwanda must begin withdrawing its troops from Eastern DRC, and both are supposed to start this on this Sunday, the 27th of July 2025, and finish by late September. They were given a 90-day period since the signing of that agreement in Washington for them to have sorted the issue with the FDLR in Eastern DRC. And that is now what was supposed to begin this particular Sunday. But a huge problem existed in what I can refer to as a you go first impasse. Because the DRC was saying that Kigali should go first and withdraw troops from Eastern DRC. And Kigali, on the other hand, will say that Kinshasa should go first and tackle the issue of the FDLR because it's their country, so that Rwanda can lift its defensive measures in Eastern DRC. So both parties are saying that you should go first. The other side is saying you should go first. So that was the impasse that has been making the entire situation in Eastern DRC to continue as it was. But the Washington Accord came up with a decision that both of these parties should do the activities simultaneously. So credible sources are already pointing to the direction that the DRC is expected to begin operations against the FDLR this Sunday in parallel with the Rwandan withdrawal. But the big question is, will both sides maintain their part of the bargain? Will actually the DRC go and crack down on the FDLR? And will the Rwandan government withdraw its troops finally from Eastern DRC? Will both of these parties hold their end of the bargain, or will one party wait for the other to start so that they can show their goodwill, and then perhaps will the other party also fake their crackdown or withdrawal of troops from Eastern DRC? And what will happen if both of these parties do not honor the agreement or one party fakes that particular agreement? Then in that scenario, there is a lot that is at stake, because one major issue that is at stake here is the collapse of the peace process in Eastern DRC. This peace process that started in Washington and is right now in Doha are supposed to augment each other. They're supposed to work in coordination so that there can be a lasting peace in Eastern DRC. Then if the FDLR issue will not be sorted by the DRC, if the withdrawal will not be actualized by Rwanda, then the entire peace process can collapse at any time. And that means that there can be a full-scale war between the DRC and Rwanda, of course, the M23 coming in between. This is something that can happen if both of these parties do not honor the agreement that was made in Washington. Also, 7 million people have already been displaced by the conflict in Eastern DRC. If one party does not honor the accord, then it risks that more people can be displaced and more people can lose their lives because of the conflicts in Eastern DRC. Armed groups, there are very many in Eastern DRC, will flourish if this particular deal is not held by both parties, because the situation of conflict will only fuel the armed groups to continue to flourish in Eastern DRC, fighting each other, injuring and making people to lose their lives. And further, both of these major players, the DRC and Rwanda, are risking serious sanctions if they fall short of actualizing the Washington Accord as it's supposed to be. Well, at this point, it is important to note, while Reuters reports emphasize the Sunday start, official statements from either governments or the joint mechanism haven't confirmed a precise launch date. Well, the success of both operations is heavily dependent on the verifiable progress of both parties. The mistrust between the DRC and Rwanda is going to be a bottleneck in achieving this Washington Accord. But if at all it will be achieved, then this will be a solid start to a lasting peace in Eastern DRC. Well, I will continue to keep you updated of the latest of what is happening in Eastern DRC. Keep it bona fide.